I was 3 years old the first time I saw someone being murdered. And I knew back then the horror that it is seeing something, someone, a living thing, all of a sudden being nothing at all, but a bleeding husk of what once had thoughts and speech. Hello, everyone. How are you? Thank you for joining me here. Welcome. I'm Marty Theriger, and before we advance with any more content, as it's usual in this channel, and before updating you concerning the future of my work and the future of this channel, I would like to address just a few points expressed in a comment by one of you, which I think it's a wonderful educational opportunity. At least I see it that way. So just a little bit of a little and quick disclaimer, right? So the person who made this comment gave me permission to use this comment, even though permission wasn't asked, nor is it needed, to be honest, because when you comment on the internet, it's for all the world to see. And I don't understand why people get upset or astonished or even appalled and distressed when digital content creators such as I use your comments to point out an issue or even replying to the comments in a video format. You comment stuff, that's your decision. No one is forcing you to do anything. So if you are not expecting replies, why on earth do you even comment? Anyway, as always, the identity is not exposed because I know that that will only create further problems as some people take upon themselves to harass others due to their own self-perception of righteousness. So the internet is a weird place where people express who they truly are every time there's an opportunity to mask their identities. So let's go straight to the point, shall we? As you know, I have recently expressed my opinion on this ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine in another video, and I couldn't have been more clear concerning this and showing you that I'm absolutely on the Palestinian side. I'm against Zionism, I'm against Zionists, obviously, and that video also served to show you that this very platform, YouTube, is corrupted and promotes Zionist propaganda, helps to further implement the Zionist agenda and the Israel's government attempts to deny the ongoing genocide. So if you want more information on this, watch that previous video, right? Now, going to the comment in question concerning the expression of my moral values, let's first address this part of making a point in relation to other genocides, other problems, but truly not giving a dusty fuck about any of it in truth. So pay close attention to this because you will see this quite a lot. Correction, actually. You have seen and heard this quite a lot, but a lot of people, unfortunately, are not aware of this political manipulation. So you would do well to stay, listen, and understand this, because this is a political weapon turned on all of us. And if at this point in our history you are still not paying attention, or if you don't care about the politics of this world, you shall be easily manipulated and eventually find yourself in a situation you won't be able to unfuck yourself from when the shit hits the wind, right? So this is called whataboutism. Since most of the viewers of this channel are from the US, United States of America, you have seen this political tactic being used all the time by Donald Trump, as an example. As you also see Vladimir Putin doing it all the time as well. When politicians are asked a question concerning some terrible decision they have made or some critical commentary that clearly doesn't go well in the eyes of the public, or asked about a particular issue that should be resolved and they have absolutely no intention on solving it, they will try to divert the focus from themselves and the errors they have committed and the things they should have done but have not done. And they divert the focus to other politicians or other countries or other realities, pointing out other problems, other flaws, like, what about this? What about that? There's an ongoing genocide in Gaza, but what about the genocides in Africa? Fascism is on the rise and promoting a climate of insecurity and violence, but what about, for instance, the far left? What about North Korea? What about Russia? Zionists are slaughtering Palestinians, but what about Catholic priests in Canada murdering thousands of Indigenous children in the 60s and 70s and the 80s? What about anti-Semitism? What about Mexican cartels? What's to be done with the rise of neo-Nazis? Well, what about the alt-right, the alt-left? What about Antifa? What about communism or the communists? The Trump administration is neither credible nor trustworthy, but what about Benghazi? What about the Iran deal? The number of homeless people is rising, but what about the immigrants? What about domestic violence? What about people on drugs? What about the rent crisis? Well, you get the point, right? This is whataboutism. When a problem is pointed out and a call for solving it, and politicians and others don't actually care about solving the problem or even addressing it, and divert the focus to other problems, and they present no real solution to neither the problem being debated and the problems they pointed out, making it all extremely pointless, all the arguments, and nothing is ever done. No problem is actually solved because other problems aren't solved either, and things remain the exact same. And mind you, whataboutism is clearly a political tactic expressed by someone who couldn't give two shits about any of the problems they mention and the problem they are trying to run away from. So, whataboutism is the political tactic of changing the subject to someone else's or some other country's misbehavior, offense, violation, or crime. So, an issue is put on the table, it's being discussed, and whataboutism cuts any possible attempts to reach a point to solve a problem by pointing other problems and other realities, and sometimes not even problems at all, and everything remains the exact same. This tactic of whataboutism is an old Soviet propaganda tool, and it is a very dangerous political tool because it implies that all actions, regardless of context, share a moral equivalency, pointing out that since no one is perfect, no country is perfect, no politician is perfect, no people is perfect, all criticism is an hypocrisy. Therefore, everyone should do whatever they want, and it cannot be responsible or reprehensible because others do it too, which means that it allows for the existence of wrongdoings. You hear this from Benjamin Netanyahu, or however the fuck you pronounce that name, all the time in other forms when he points out that other countries have also committed the same crimes. You listen this from the mouths of Zionists all the time, that war is war, everybody did the same, all do the same, even to go as further as to play the victim card of the Holocaust when they do not. They do the exact same things to the Palestinians, right? And there's plenty of Zionists that play the Holocaust victim card, but their own parents were not even alive yet to have suffered from such an historical event, a horrible historical event. I've heard and read many playing this card, and only their grandparents are old enough to have lived through that when they were children. And many Zionists didn't suffer through that at all, as not all Zionists are Jews even. So none of the errors done in the past may excuse current actions, right? Yes, this is history of humanity, and it is absolutely filled with horrors and, at the minimum, very uncomfortable conversations to have concerning the past history of our countries. But the wrongdoings of the past cannot be excused to continue to do the same. And yes, my own country, as an example, Portugal, it was responsible for enslaving more people than the British, Spanish, French, and Dutch empires combined. But my response to that can't be, but what about Korea, who holds the record of the nation with the longest period of slavery? You see, I'm already diverting the issue to another problem, another reality, as if Portugal can't be blamed because others did the same or were far worse. So whataboutism is a very effective tool, unfortunately, and depressively so. Every one of us has fallen on it on multiple times or multiple occasions. So people even do it without even thinking about it. In this comment, you see this. The person clearly and very expressively has shown no interest whatsoever in this ongoing problem. Yet it points out to another problem which clearly also doesn't care about, completely minimizing and despising this issue that affects us all. And it will affect us all, as I shall express further ahead. Not to mention that this is an extreme lack of empathy. It's like saying, this person right here tortured and flayed a cat and placed it on display in front of a children's school. But what about the thousands of animals in the animal industry living in cramped spaces, swimming in their own feces, then having their throats slit, squirming in excruciating pain and agony, slaughtered every day? Yeah, so we are not going to deal with a particular problem at hand because the same problems to which there are solutions and are being dealt with also exist in other places, in other realities. Whataboutism does not solve any problem, does not win any argument. There are ongoing genocides, we know that. So are we not going to try to solve one just because others are doing it? Are we not going to do anything? And in fact, it's not to be condemned even because others do it or have done it. It's completely fucking mental. Now, continuing to analyze this comment, this person says it has nothing to do with our indigenous faiths of Europe. So there are two important points I would like to address concerning this. Sorry. To begin with, if we are going to talk about indigenous faiths, we have to talk about animism. There's no other way around. Well, animism, in a nutshell, of course, is concerning the whole focus, actually, is towards the community of human persons, the community of other than human persons, the community of the whole. Animism primarily focuses on relationships of mutual respect towards the other in order to find a balance, or at the very least try to bargain with, reason with the extended community of others, the others, in order to create a more pleasant experience in life and to minimize harm as much as possible. If you have watched my videos on animism, this is nothing new. So, when we talk about animism, when we talk about indigenous faiths, when we talk about realities, beliefs, and perceptions that are very much towards the community, politics cannot be dissociated from the discourse, because politics is our part of the community, right? Politics by definition, right? By definition, politics are activities associated with the governance of a country, area, region, people, especially as a debate between parties. In animism, even in a spiritual sense, politics are very much part of the interaction between human persons and the others. Politics exists to establish mutual understanding for the benefit of the whole, towards the community and towards the communities external to our community, to promote well-being or at the very least an understanding of mutual respect in order to bring about beneficial outcomes to all. It is impossible to be an animist and disconnect ourselves from politics. Animism is about the community, and politics are part of the community. So we cannot discard politics and at the same time speak about indigenous faiths at all. It was like this in the past, and it is very much like this now in the present. Furthermore, people talk about our indigenous past concerning faiths, belief systems of all sorts, religions and whatnot, and want to separate these realities from politics. It is naive for two reasons. One, as much as it is today, past faiths, belief systems, religions were very much part of politics and played an important role, a fundamental role at times in political discourses. Not just the example I've given you previously concerning animism, but past belief systems played an extremely important role in politics. If this person actually saw my videos on Norse mythology and Old Norse society, it should know that by now, even for the simple fact, as an example, that the whole concept of hulls of the gods in Norse mythology is actually a reflection of the politics in Old Norse society, because it expresses the power and rulership of kings and lords in a microcosmos within their own hulls, ruling their people. The realms of Norse mythology, especially the hulls of the gods, did not influence the political structure of the Old Norse society. It's the other way around, actually. As I said here many times before, mythologies are cultural codes that reflect the history, tradition, language, beliefs, and politics of a society. And second, one of the most important premises of studying the past is not only to avoid committing the same mistakes in the present, but to learn from them and to detect when a particular system, ideology, or group is trying to manifest itself again and will bring about the same errors, and we will suffer again if we do not know how to detect them in time because of the knowledge we possess or the lack of it concerning the same patterns that were presented and manifested in the past. So you know why history repeats itself and we fall into the same patterns over and over again. Because the great majority of the people, the masses, unfortunately don't give a dusty fuck about our past and our histories. And so we are prone to fall into the exact same schemes because we don't know how to detect them, because most people don't care at all about the politics of the past, and that's a mistake. You know why so many governments still, especially nowadays, right now, are turning to fascism again and other authoritarian modes of regime, because the people, the politicians promoting these ways of governance, they know about the politics of the past and know until when it was successful and where it failed. And they will try to implement it again, implement the same patterns and change the patterns precisely where it failed in the past, until at some point it fails again. And in the future, they will continue to do precisely the same thing and precisely where it went right for them, rectify the failures and do it differently until it fails again, and on and it goes. And the people always suffering. For instance, if you know about the politics of ancient Rome, especially the Republic, you will see the patterns and notice things before they even happen in most of the politics of Europe. If you look into the politics of Imperial Rome, you will again notice the patterns in quite a lot of European politics still, as well as in the politics of the United States of America and of Russia as well. The United States of America and Russia. Just as an example, right? So if you know the politics of the past, you will understand the patterns and where things are heading. I mean, plenty of times I've told you here in this channel precisely what would happen on several instances of the politics we are currently living. And you are always astonished that I was right, as if I were some sort of prophet or something. No, my dear friends, I know the history of past politics, and that's just it. There's nothing special about it. The patterns are always the same. They will always do the same things that were successful in the past and brought them to power, and only change where in the past failed, so they can extend their power a little bit more until it fails again in some unpredictable circumstance that wasn't yet reached in history until the point of the new failure. Let me give you an example. In 2017, Israel, once again, were bombing Palestinians and slaughtering children. Sadly, people really have short memory because they don't give a shit about history and the past. But back in 2017, Israel was doing the same things they are doing right now, and they were suffering a huge backlash from people all over the internet for the first time in the internet, right? So many people came together in 2017 to manifest against the actions of Israel, especially in Europe, especially Europeans. As soon as I saw those first videos of Israel's crimes in 2017, which was nothing new, I told the people around me at the time that in 2018, Israel would win Eurovision. As you know, I boycott Israel since I was 16. I'm 37 now, so I don't watch Eurovision since then, and I don't need to know precisely who is going to win on that year and the next year. And well, Israel won Eurovision in 2018, as I said. And why? Because this is what they do. They give us entertainment to divert the focus from bigger problems. People are easily manipulated, especially when entertained. And all of a sudden, everyone was talking about Israel winning at Eurovision and not the genocide. Talking about the song, and the genocide in Gaza was once again muffled. Eurovision was never about music, was never about arts. It has always been a political tool. And just like me, you can make a pretty good guess which country is going to win the next year, even before their own song has been constructed to be presented. It's super easy if you are paying attention to the politics of the previous year. Russia invades Ukraine in 2022. Ukraine wins the Eurovision in the same year. Between 2022 and 2023, there were conversations about Sweden entering NATO. Sweden won Eurovision in 2023, entering NATO just a few months after the following year. And this is just recent, right? Recent stuff. Go back and see who won Eurovision in each year and the politics of that year and the previous year, and you will see the pattern. So, making a division between politics and history, especially of the past, is naive and foolish. And to finalize on this point concerning this comment, it's ridiculous. People speaking about our European indigenous faiths as if trying to preserve something that no longer exists and isn't part of our society for centuries. And a lot of people are not ready to have this conversation. And don't get me wrong, I really wish many things would have survived so we could understand our past and our cultures a little bit better. And I wish we could be more animistic. I've been open about it, which we can actually, if we actually pay close attention to the still surviving cultures and communities and ethnic groups of animistic persons in this world. And there's a lot we can learn from indigenous faiths and belief systems that have still survived and are actually still alive and being conducted by several indigenous persons all over the world, instead of trying to bring back something that was lost to the point that we have absolutely no idea what our ancestors actually believed in and how they expressed and conducted their belief systems in the past. People are so focused on the past, they get fucked in the arse multiple times, over and over again, in their present current life by those who rule us. People speak of our indigenous faiths of Europe as if they were still practicing it. You are not. If we were practicing the faiths and belief systems of our ancestors, we would be going against all possible and imaginary human rights. People were cruel, people did terrible things for their belief systems and in the name of their faiths and gods. People would sacrifice other humans, would sacrifice babies, children. If we condemn Israel's actions nowadays concerning this ongoing genocide towards the Palestinians, then we would not possibly stand and watch someone close to us sacrificing a child to some deity we worship or in our belief systems. Even in terms of witchcraft, an animistic pragmatic behavior that seeks to manipulate reality through magic, even that has been highly glamorized and romanticized through neo-paganism. And in a way, that's not bad, actually. I'm still from a period, and I met people, old people, who still performed traditional folk magic, which was cruel, especially towards animals. People also conveniently forget the hundreds of magic books, black art books, written by actual sorcerers, magicians, witches, healers, or all the above in the 20th century. That isn't that bullshit we see in Wicca and other practices derived from Wicca, but the continuation, the actual continuation of belief systems and practices within traditional folk magic of many cultures throughout Europe, where people cursed others, enticed them, to bend them to fall in love, or to have sexual intercourse, or to hex them, hex people. But also the hundreds of practices of magic that involve the most macabre things towards animals and profanation of bodies and stealing, murdering, and so on and so forth. No one in Europe, nor anywhere else in the world for that matter, is practicing precisely our indigenous European faiths. What people are doing is new constructions of faiths, new faiths, using old terms and glimpses of historical facts, cherry-picking historical facts, shaping it all into something more tasteful for the modern person living in the world, which, despite the brutality and violence that is still going on, as we can all see, the fact is that nowadays we are more kind, or let's say less cruel towards one another than we were in the past, even in the recent past, as recent as the late 20th century. So this comment shows a tremendous lack of empathy, which many of you have, and many people all over the internet have. Unfortunately, I've read, I've listened to that, which isn't strange when we have had and still have people like Elon Musk, Andrew Tate, Charlie Kirk, and others underlining that empathy is a human flaw, a weakness, creating monsters out of the naive fools that populate the world. And this lack of empathy comes from extreme privilege. This right here, you see in this comment, right, is a person born in such a privilege, they have absolutely no idea what it feels like to see another suffering and how that impacts our lives and the lives of others, and how it stains, how that seeps into the soul and causes trauma. People without empathy are either psychopaths or people born in such a privilege. They don't know what it's like to truly suffer. They don't know what's like not to have a home. They don't know, and they have never seen someone being murdered in front of them. They don't know the horrors of war and conflict and how far human beings go when hatred fills their heart and clouds their mind and judgment, and they inflict upon their own species horrors that can't possibly be imagined, and only a twisted mind could come up with such horrifying treatment of another soul. Fuck it. I was 3 years old the first time I saw someone being murdered. And I knew back then the horror that it is seeing someone, a living thing, all of a sudden being nothing at all, but a bleeding husk of what once had thoughts and speech, the emptiness in the glassy eyes of another human being lying down on the floor in a twisted manner, which just moments before was alive, speaking, manifesting life, animation. And then it's just a twisted husk that is no longer human, because you feel the overwhelming and agonizing emptiness of death. When people are not psychopaths, this display of lack of empathy can only come from people who come from a life of privilege where they don't know violence, never suffered it, never witnessed it, never done it. I was 10 years old when I was recruited into a street gang. I got out at 15, 16, only to enter another even worse group, a terrorist hate group, which then I got out at the age of 20. Sometimes you are caught between the sword and the wall, as we often say around here, and the choices of survival is to become someone you don't wish to be and do things you don't wish to do. I told you before, in that video long ago, I've done concerning the werewolf cult, if you remember, and people are so caught in their own fantasies of our indigenous European faiths that most did not actually understand a thing I was truly saying in that video. You hear, but you don't listen. You watch, but you don't see. I told you in that video, a good person isn't a harmless person. A good person, or at least a person who is trying very hard to be good, is a dangerous person who does everything in its power not to succumb to its violent nature, for the benefit of himself and others and all else, for the greater good and for peace, and to live, to cherish beauty. So these people who lack empathy are either psychopaths or children born in such privilege. They don't know true violence, and it's a good thing they don't know, but don't go around and being a fucking twat towards those who are suffering. So this is why you should care about this conflict, about this genocide, about the suffering of the Palestinian people. If someone truly tries to be a good person, then act as such. Speak and act in ways towards the benefit of the whole community. Act and speak for the voiceless and for the victims who have no power to protect themselves, and fight against the horrors of this world. Fight against evil, against wrongdoing, against these psychopaths that try to rule us and subjugate us. There will never be peace for as long as systems like this apartheid regime of Israel continue to exist. Are you so naive as to think that Benjamin Netanyahu and his ilk and Zionists will truly stop when they wipe out all the Palestinians? Zionism isn't new. They have been causing horrors to most of us for a long fucking time. You truly think that not caring and burying your head in the sand will just solve things and nothing bad will be at your doorstep? There will come a day that many of us will regret not having done a thing to prevent this. People often only act, unfortunately, when it's too late and when the horrors are already in front of them, hitting them. People often only act when they are the ones suffering and crying and losing those they love. So be attentive and take a good look, and you will see how so many governments are in the hands of these Zionists. Israel is the biggest economic partner of Europe, for instance. As such, it has most European governments by their balls. US elections and other positions of power within the political framework of the US is highly financed by Israel. Israeli Mossad concocts all sorts of horrors to keep the population in fear of something that isn't actually affecting them, something that isn't actually happen, to blind the population from the true horrors that they inflict daily worldwide. We have been suffering from this in so many ways, and it will be far worse. If nothing is done now, you will be screaming and crying to heavens when the shit hits the fan closer and ever closer to you. So you should definitely care, even if it's just for your own selfish reasons, if you lack empathy. The message is here, it has been delivered. Fight in whichever way it is possible under the power that is given to you in this life right now. Until we meet again.